talk this.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I'm your nothing but games that start with T host, Madelyn.
I'm your nothing but games host, Emma.
And thanks for tuning into this week's show. Can you believe it? It's late May, and another 6 weeks have gone by. Who would have thought?
True.
Which means it's time for us to download some save data into your eardrums. Let's talk about the games that we've been playing since our last. This one was actually 6 weeks. The last few have been 7 week save datas, which is good because Emma would have hit like 20 games if we'd played for another week.
Yeah, unfortunately, the removing of a week apparently did not stop me. I was counting them up like, oh my god.
In your gamer era.
I'm in my gaming time.
Well, I mean, it goes without saying that I think you have to start.
Alright, I'll do, my updates. Continuing to play Persona 3 Portable. I'm on the August full moon now. It continues to be fun. For all of, Portable has, a visual novel presentation, right? So, you're pointing and clicking on things as opposed to, walking around the space, which understandable complaints about as a downgrade from the original, but it does make it, much more streamlined to get through, because you do things faster, because you don't have to, walk places. And that makes it an ideal morning game, basically, because I can do, 3 days, in, half an hour, and Perfect. That's nice. Yeah. Nothing. The only hard boss so far was the first full moon boss, which is the one where you have a time limit, and that's really what made it difficult. Everything else, even on hard, has just been fine. Part of it's familiarity, but it's just also it's just not very hard. I'll eat my words when I get back to the final boss whenever I do that. Near Reincarnation. New story arc. The first chapter just came out on Thursday or Friday. It's People and the World. As opposed to introducing new characters, we're how many are there? 20 or something. Previous characters are all part of this arc. They're split up into groups with each other, defending the cage, which is the setting of this place, from some sort of mysterious threat. Which is nice. It's nice to be able to go back to these characters and see them actually interact with each other, and not have to worry about introducing even more gotcha guys to gotcha. But yeah, so I played through the first chapter. There's a lot more actual story scenes and interaction in this one. Which is interesting. I'm curious if they'll say that they're ending it with this, because it seems like it could be, if they finish this up, it could be a good place to end, since they're bringing all the characters back. But I guess it depends how successful it is. Who knows? I don't know how well it's doing. It's not doing well enough. There's no more... Well, they preserved the English voice acting that has already been recorded, but the new stuff isn't getting English voice acted anymore. So it's not doing that great. But I mean, that's expensive, right? That's a big expense, so it could still be doing fine even without that. So I guess we'll see. And finally, Cold Steel 4, of course. We must do an update. Finish another chapter of Cold Steel 4. I don't think, so there's going to be, I'm moving this summer. News to our listeners. And there's going to be a time when I probably will not have access to my PlayStation 5. And so I really should finish this before then, but I don't think it's feasible. But I am really going to be trying to pick up the pace a little bit to see if I can finish before I have to take an extended break from it. But we'll see. Anyway, though, I did finish another chapter. I at least want to finish a chapter every 6 weeks from now on. So I really didn't like this chapter.
Oh, Cold Steel.
So I think when I was playing 3, I talked about, like, there's this curse thing that's happening, right? There's a curse upon the Empire of Erebonia. And I said during 3, I really liked it as an idea of, like, externalizing, being a metaphor for, like, a nation's, like, history of atrocity, right? Like, the violence that this nation has inflicted on others is coming back in a curse, and, like, you could have some discussion of, like, okay, you know, we should burn it all down versus we should do better in the future, you know, we should stop doing atrocities, maybe?
Yeah.
And the way the curse has sort of expressed itself in this game is, like, there's one classmate of Reen's, one of the side classmates, named Alan, who's affected by the curse and is, like, really into the military. Some horses, very upset by the curse. An old man, after not getting enough sleep, put the wrong document into an envelope and mailed it out. Apparently, according to Reen and friends, the curse.
That is a curse.
And it's just, like, so non-impactful. Like, they seem to be trying to use Alan as, like, an example of, like, oh, even these people you know, are affected by, like, the Empire's warlike nature and, you know, are really into, like, defending things now. But, like, when there's about 3,000 characters I've met throughout the course of Cold Steel, and it's only Alan who seems to be affected in terms of named characters, I just think that perhaps Alan has a brain the size of a horse. And not, like, that the curse is particularly scary.
Yeah.
Like, we're, like, rescuing some people who have been put into, like, protective custody by the government now, so that they can come out and help us on our side. And in this one, like, it's, like, people that we know, like, one of our old teachers and Elliot's father. Elliot's one of Reen's classmates in class 7. And, like, they're fine. They're just fighting us because I guess they can't quit the military, and, like, they want to make sure that they, like, test us, and I just hate that trope. 'Cause, like, the world's ending. Like, so you're testing us. What if Reen trips on his shoelace and you accidentally, like, break his head open? Would you feel good about testing us then? Like, then the world's over. You doomed the world because Reen tripped on his shoelace and you didn't just give us the princess and Tita like we asked you to. Why do you have to test us? And they're not impacted by the curse. It's just Alan, and none of the other faceless soldiers in this base seem to be affected by the curse. It's just Alan, and, like, what am I supposed to be getting from this? What is the emotional impact I'm supposed to have? Because mostly I'm annoyed. And now we have 22 characters I can pick from to put into my party, and that's too many. That's too many at once. Okay. Anyway. That's my Cold Steel update. This last chapter sucked. I hope the next one's better.
I'll keep my fingers crossed. My hopes aren't high.
I'm keeping a running tally. Everybody comments on Reen's hair, which of course is rainbow, because I have a costume on him.
I remember.
So we have a tally of whether they're insults or compliments, right? We have, like, 2 compliments to, like, 15 insults so far. So
that unfortunately does sort of feel like the rainbow hair dynamic.
All right, you can go now.
Well, I spent some time in the past week or so playing a game that starts with T, where you run around a big old natural world with a glider, occasionally solving puzzles. That's right. It was Chia.
Yeah.
No other games like that came out recently.
I also played that game.
Oh, we can both talk about Chia then. How far have you gotten in Chia?
I finished it.
You finished it in these 6 weeks?
Yeah.
What the heck? What's even the point of me talking about it then?
Tell me what you're doing in Chia.
I got through the, I'm on the weird island now.
Ah. So you did see the baby eating.
Yes, the baby eating. There's sure a lot more baby eating in this game than I would have anticipated. So there's your content warning for Chia out there. There has sure been more eating of babies
Yeah.
than was on the tin.
Yeah.
You probably, though, are much better than me at, like, just going and doing the things that you are supposed to do.
I guess so.
In Chia, I'm just like, oh, there's an icon, I have to go there. Oh, there's an icon, I have to go there. Oh, there's an icon, I have to go there.
Yeah, I mostly, I got all the points of interest I could find. I do wish there was, like, a filter on the map for the icons so that I could find, like, the type of thing I was looking for more easily.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, I would usually beeline to any points of interest, any stamina fruit, any rock balancing, but I mostly ignored, like, the braided trinkets and most of the camps unless they were on my way.
Well, that explains why this is taking me longer to finish.
Yeah.
I can't skip an icon. Gotta have the icon.
Gotta have the icon.
How do you find rock balancing?
It felt like it got easier.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I got better at understanding how it works.
Yeah.
But still an unreasonably hard minigame for what it is, to be frank.
Some of the... I guess you probably got the musical one once you're on the weird island. Did you get one there yet? A musical sequence?
I think I'm, like, in the process of getting that. But that's
anyway,
okay.
It's really freaking hard.
The musical sequence on the island. Actually, I think I did get that, and it was hard. Yeah.
I could not keep track of where I was supposed to keep the joystick, so.
It made me think of our rhythm game and how you just kind of have to vibe with it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Our rhythm game podcast. Because the moments where I would start to, like, really actually try to use my visual cortex to identify which were coming first, I would immediately mess up. And when I just went with the feeling of where it should go, I did much better.
Well, your musical brain, I see.
Right, I forgot that
Serving
we did.
you.
Yes. I forgot that I was such an elitist about rhythm in that episode. Thank you for reminding me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm enjoying, I'm surprised that you played Chia. I feel like Chia is not your kind of game either, but Chia's
like I said
enough.
Last week in relation to Skies of Arcadia, I love a good vehicle, I love that you just sit on the boat for a few minutes sometimes and sail.
Here's my problem. I often run the boat too far onto the beach to get it off.
You push it.
Can you push it?
Yeah, you press square and she pushes it.
It's fine. Like, I've never been somewhere where it's been, like, a real pain. It's just been like, oh, I guess I'm done with the boat now. For those of you who didn't listen to our episode on Chia is a sort of, a kind of Breath of the Wild-like, Tears of the Kingdom. Well, wouldn't say it's a Tears of the Kingdom-like, because
no.
You cannot build a fire-peeing robot in this, which is I think, the metric for whether it's a Tears of the Kingdom-like.
Yeah.
But you're in New Caledonia, just sort of down there in the kind of like Australia region, and running around various islands trying to take down the bad leader of your island and save your dad. I've had a hard time with diving challenges. Those are really hard. I just get no points all the time. So I belly flop onto the water. I like the music sequences are touching, although much like with karaoke and Yakuza, I am unable to read what the lyrics are about as I play. So yeah. I'm sure they're very touching, but I'm just like, let me hit all my little ukulele chords. I was playing, my boyfriend was like, why are you defeating these like little camps of dudes that are around? And I was like, I don't know. I now understand. But I sure did defeat a lot of camps of them before I knew anything about them. I was like running around setting fire to random cloth everywhere for no reason. And I have not, I feel like all of the reviews for Chia were so into the I'm going to possess random animals and I'm going to do the soul throwing a lot. And I feel like I've not yet really fully dove into that except for possessing lanterns to burn down the cloth.
There's one rock thing that gives you, invoke different types of animals, and I started using the soul hop a lot more then because I didn't have to like run around looking for a bird. I could just be like, bird!
Right. That makes
and
sense.
Then turn into the bird.
I like being pigs. The pigs are cool. I've done a pretty good job following the treasure maps so far. So I did find that Infinite Breathe song, which has changed the game for my underwater exploration. I drowned a lot before that.
I was very into photos.
Photo modes just aren't my thing.
I like that you can't see them until you develop them.
No, I got that camera and I was like, oh, that's a neat thing. But I don't know. I feel like photo modes are sometimes too finicky for me.
I think I like it because it has like a level of lack of control, I guess. It's sort of in some ways this game reminds me of Final Fantasy 15. Which I liked because it would like automatically take photos for you, right? Because Prompto was taking them. And in this, like, you don't know if you've got a good shot until you go and develop them. And sometimes you develop them and you're like, oh, this was out of focus, huh? And I really like that experience of, like, rediscovering my photos as opposed to, like, having perfect control over, like, the lighting and what everything looks like.
Yeah.
So that's why I like taking photos.
I do also, I don't like, to some extent, although I appreciate it, how Skyrim-y this game, like, she can just walk up, like, vertical slopes, basically, sometimes. Sometimes I'm climbing, and it just be, like, if you start out walking up a slope, even if it gets steeper, you pretty much always just keep walking.
Interesting.
I'm like, Chia has very powerful legs.
I did my, it's very Sable-like also, which is Breath of the Wild-like in its own way, but usually on Sable, I would find, like, some random bit of geometry that I could rest on halfway up.
Yeah.
And that's what I did with this, too. I didn't really walk up slopes, but I would find, like, a little place where it wasn't vertical and wait until the stamina was back and then start climbing again.
I would like more climbing challenges. That's one critique of mine so far. So I would like more
when you can just
challenge.
turn into a bird.
I know. Like, I was thinking about that as I was saying this. I was like, oh, what's the point of designing a climbing challenge if you can just, like, go all the way around it? But one of my favorite parts of the Breath of the Wild likes is, like, the, like, oh, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna make it climbing? Am I gonna make it? And I've lost a little bit here. But I've been enjoying it. Now that I have finished the Odyssey through some of the games that I will talk about later here, I'm looking forward to, like, really diving in and finishing Chia. I'll admit, I'm starting to get the Yakuza itch again, so I feel like I have to finish some of these games that I'm playing so that I could return.
You have Ishin and Lost Judgment?
And Dead Souls.
Yeah. Wow.
And look, the Man Who Erased His Name is coming in the fall, right?
It is. So. I don't know if they said when. This year. I don't know if they've said what
You're right. Probably next week.
Yeah, they'll shadow drop it. Me next?
I also played Tactics Ogre for the show. That's it. Go listen to that podcast. I only mention it because it also starts with T, and genuinely all the games that I played start with T. So, Tactics Ogre. I played some of the demo. It was tactical. Back to you.
Okay. 2 games I talked about last time that I've now finished. I finished Resident Evil 4 like 2 days after the last episode came out or something like that.
Nice.
So I have officially, added that Resident Evil check mark to my gamer cred card.
How does it feel?
When those little trends on Twitter come around, it's like, check mark, you played one game in one of these series. I can finally Resident Evil go from like 10 to like 11 out of 100 or whatever I usually get on those. I had a lot of fun. It was a fun game. It wasn't it really peaked in difficulty at like the Ramon boss where he's like shooting around the ceiling at max speed while Leon is at a little light jog all the time. And then it was pretty easy from there. I won't say really easy, but it didn't get that hard again. So there's that. There's one enemy where you have to use a biosensor scope and shoot the points inside of it, where I was like, wow, I bet if I was good at keyboard and mouse, this would be so much easier. Because it really did not want to shoot through those things at all. Even a little bit. So, fun stuff.
But you did it. You made it through.
I made it through. I await with trepidation and morbid curiosity to see if they will continue remaking the games up and going to Resident Evil 5 next, which I have not played, but everything I've heard about it is well, there's local co-op, which good, but also horrible racism? It's bad.
Look, there's not that many local co-op games, so...
I'm just really curious, because these have been, they've changed some things around, but they've been pretty faithful. And it's do they really want to remake Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6 that people didn't like? In, a faithful way? Or will they do more radical changes to it? Or will they just stop here, remake some of the side games? Very curious to know.
Resident Evil 5 remake.
In the Final Fantasy VII way?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Whenever there's racism, the guy from Resident Evil 4, pops out of a portal and, kills the racist. That's how they change it.
Okay. I finished the Fire Emblem Engage DLC also. The last map was excruciatingly difficult for me. I had heard that there's 6 chapters of it. I'd heard that chapter 5 was really hard, and it was not for me. And so I went into chapter 6 really cocky.
Yeah, this is going to be a breeze.
This is going to be a breeze. And I had to restart it 6 times. So it's there's the boss moves from island to island, and whenever he moves, he destroys the island that's there. So you have to be continuously moving. And also, if there are enemies left on the island that he kills, it enhances him so that when you actually get to him, if he's killed too many enemies, that's bad.
Oh no.
And if you split your party and try to skip up to the front island, he will double time his island destroying pace, which is not ideal.
This sounds rough.
It was pretty rough. So that's what some of the restarts was oh, I guess I shouldn't have split my party. Got it.
Learn your lesson.
The last map literally starts with a reminder that's this is on casual mode. It's okay if they die.
Yeah.
A little pop-up. It's thanks, game. That's not ominous at all.
No.
The story, I enjoyed the story. I think it had some similar problems as the main game, unsurprisingly, in terms of earning its emotional impact, I guess. In that it doesn't really. Of I get there and I'm I really want to like this. I really want this to work, but it just kind of doesn't. But it was still fun. I'm sort of confused on if I was to start a new run, because you get new units out of doing this. So I don't know if I would have to replay the DLC to get the units on a new file. But I guess I'll find out one day when I inevitably do a maddening playthrough of the main game. So
I'll look forward to the report.
I imagine I will put the DLC, which you can put its difficulty separately from whatever you're on. I imagine if I have to do it again, I will put it on normal.
Yeah.
Rather than hard, which I did on.
Did you have anything else to say about Chia? I didn't mean to take over the Chia slot.
No, that's okay. I was surprised you haven't gotten here yet, but there's some sneak combat sort of heavier sections in the late game, which were sort of fun, but also weird. And and I really enjoyed the ending of it. I thought it was satisfying. And like I said, more more baby eating than I was expecting, and I had been expecting none, so it wasn't that hard.
It was a lot. We were watching that. Like, my boyfriend was watching that without a ton of story context, and he was like, whoa.
I got really into outfits, too. I dressed her up a lot.
Oh, yeah,
Part
I
of
just
the
change her
picture
outfit
taking.
whenever I get to a new campfire. I'm like, new
Yeah.
look time.
Yeah.
She looks pretty stupid most of the time, to be perfectly honest. But of course you'd be into outfits, you of rainbow-haired Reen.
Yeah.
Speaking of games that start with T, I'm just gonna do that every single time. I played more Triangle Strategy. I've been playing Tactics Ogre really inspired me that I have to continue my Triangle Strategy playthrough because I enjoy a tactics game and I didn't want to totally forget what was happening. I sort of had forgotten what was happening, but it's okay. I picked it up. My party has betrayed me again.
You were really bad at convincing them.
I really feel like I'm not. I feel like they often say to me that they're like seriously thinking about what I'm saying, and then they get up there and they're like, "Screw you, I don't care what you think." I really think I always think I'm like, oh, okay, like even if I don't end up even if I don't do it, like surely I'll have convinced one person, and never. I have not managed to do it. I think since this time, I think I had two decisions, and one of them went the way that I wanted it to, and the other one didn't. And I think we are so dumb for, like, going to report this guy's salt smuggling. We should have gone along with it and pretended that way first. I think that was so much smarter. I can't believe people didn't listen to my smart arguments for why that was smarter.
I did. I smuggled the salt.
Well, good for you. I thought Roland was going to be dead. It made it sound, there was at least one voiceover from the narrator where it sounded like his execution had happened, like off screen, like they weren't even showing it to me, and like he was just dead. So I was then surprised when he was alive.
Yeah.
I hope his sister becomes evil. It seems like she could become evil. As she becomes queen, so that would be dope. I just feel like things are not going well for House Wolfort overall. Like, we're just, like, chaotically kind of, like, running all over the place with no loyalty to anyone, with no. Oh, I did successfully convince them that we should side with the evil empire, not the evil religious empire.
Good, I guess.
So I did win that one, but then we're now gonna go just, like, rat someone out to the evil religious empire as if we trust them to not just kill us. I feel like the fights have stabilized in difficulty a little bit. You saw me play that fight where it was just like everyone was dead and
you
it was
won.
so hard. I did manage
Sarah
to
Noah
win.
and Julio and the healer, they made it.
I do have to complain about, what are they called in this game? They're not called gambits. What are the stupid little powers that you have?
I don't remember. I think I barely used them.
Well, I only discovered in, like, looking for something else online that, like, the way the game explains them, it makes it sound like you buy one use from the guy, and then, like, you can only use it once ever, and then you have to buy it again, and that's not how it works.
I see.
So I didn't find that tutorializing to be very well done. I'm like enjoying Triangle Strategy. I'm not finding it mind-blowing, I guess. And I mean, even that's an exaggeration. I'm not finding it to be like great, right? It's a fun game to play. The story is like okay, is my take right now. Partially because we just are not acting. The House of Wolford is not acting consistently from chapter to chapter in any way. So it's hard for me to be like, oh yes, this is a story that I'm following, because it's just like, oh, my party is just sort of doing whatever they feel like at any given moment. And yeah. Like the whole Scales of Fate thing is a fun idea, but I am seeing how it can kind of feel like, the narrative momentum of this just sort of feels like it's veering around all over the place. Because
I do think that's like even if it wasn't like your party doing it, like that can still happen. Like anytime you have like roots or like choices that don't like radically diverge, I think you can run into that problem. But
yeah.
I
just want to believe that I would have charted at least what would have felt to me, because I would know my justification for it.
Sure.
A more coherent path through, as opposed to now where he's just like, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this.
I think you've just got to work on your debate skills, to be honest.
I can't emphasize enough that, like, after almost every conversation, they say, that was a good point. I'm deep in thought.
They'll say that anyway. They'll say that no matter what.
Sometimes they'll be like, no, like, you're just wrong.
Okay.
My wife's gonna get murdered. They're absolutely gonna kill my, racial minority wife, fiance.
Pink-haired wife.
Pink-haired fiance. When we go try to do this. So I gotta keep moving through triangle strategy. I think I'm gonna have more in these next 6 weeks, more opportunities to like bring it with me on the subway than I have this past 6. So that'll help, because it's a good commuting game for me. But it feels like this game feels like it's gonna be long.
It is pretty long.
Anyway, I look forward to all of us being imprisoned for years by the evil Pope.
Do you just have your T series left?
No, I also have Tunic.
Oh, okay. All right. Very good.
But still over to you, I think.
All right. I'm just trying to figure out how many I should do. All right. The visual novel roundup. I played Coffee Talk 2. Played and finished Coffee Talk 2, Hibiscus and Butterfly. I don't have too much to say about it. It was another coffee talk, which, if you don't know, it's like you're a barista in like a fantasy realism Seattle. You run like a late night coffee shop, and different magical creatures come in and you talk to them about their problems. One new feature in this is like people can give you things to give to other people. So you have to remember like what you have in your drawer. Like if someone forgot something, the next time they come in, you have to give them their stuff. Or if someone gives you something for someone else, or sometimes even like it doesn't directly say who this is for, and you have to like figure it out, like who might this be useful for. So that was a fun little wrinkle.
Imagine being a barista in Seattle and having to like manage a lost and found like that, though.
Well, the coffee shop opens from like it's like nighttime. It's not open in the morning. Like when the sun goes down, that's when it starts operating. So you don't get very many customers, actually. Surprisingly.
Yeah.
And you have hibiscus tea and
hibiscus tea is not it for me. Even in iced tea, I can do hibiscus in iced tea in some combinations, but hibiscus is tart.
Yeah. Well, you have a couple new teas in the game.
Look, new tea. I support that. I support an extensive tea menu.
Yeah.
Hibiscus just isn't it.
The Banshee and a Satyr are the two new characters in this, alongside a lot of the ones from the first game. The other one I played milk inside a bag of milk inside a bag of milk inside a bag of milk, and milk outside a bag of milk outside a bag of milk.
Those are two different games?
Yeah, but by the same developer.
Well, of course they are. But what do you thought that I thought those were two totally separate games?
And they were packaged together for the Switch release, which is what I played it on. There's two little visual novels. The first one inside is like 20 minutes long, and the second one outside is like an hour long. So you're like the voice, like there's this girl, and she is like dealing with her everyday life by sort of pretending she's in like a visual novel, and she's like talking to you. And having interactions with you. So the first one is like she's going to the store to buy a bag of milk, and essentially you just have to not be mean to her, or she'll like kick you back to the beginning, right? Be like, oh, this didn't work, We have to try this again. So that one is like you make your way to the just one ending by not telling her she's stupid too much, essentially.
Right, no melon. I get it.
Yeah. And the second one is right after she's bought the bag of milk and going up to her room. You have to help her go to bed, essentially, and get her thoughts in order, which is like it's more visual novel styled. The first one is very like, here's some impressionistic sort of representations, pictures. It's very pink tinted. And the second one, she actually has like sprites, and like there's backgrounds and stuff. And there's some animations as well. So they upped the presentational aspects of it. But this one, it's the same ending, but you can get a couple of different dream sequences depending on a couple of the different choices that you have in her room and how many of her thoughts you help her find around the room. So, or you can accidentally click on the vent and she'll say something like, haha, it takes a while to get out of this one. And then you get stuck there. It's very funny. So you should click on the vent.
Yeah.
I did it. I was like, is this a bug? And then I actually read her dialogue and was like, oh no, it's a joke. Yeah. I get it.
It's just mean.
The second one is more like sort of about like the internet as well, of like opening yourself up on the internet and finding that, difficult, and not really knowing if there's a real person behind the thing that you're talking to, right. Which is interesting. They're fun. They're nice little games. I think one person basically made them. They're stylish. They're thoughtful. So if you're like, yes, I would like to read for like an hour and a half one of these days, good choice.
If you're like, yes, I want to freak out the people on my Switch friends list.
Madelyn texted me when I popped up, like, what is this?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I was like, this is weird.
Those are my visual novel roundup.
Nice. I've played, my guess is I've played 75% of Tunic. What's my guess?
Yes, I didn't play any more of Tunic outside of what I played for the show.
You gave up. You looked like you were gonna have a retort, and then you didn't.
I don't have any retort. I did it.
Yeah, so my best Tunic moment is when I was just like, and perhaps the purest encapsulation of the game is like, I was just bopping around, like I'd gotten a new power, and I was like, I'm gonna use my new power. I'm not gonna go to the next area yet. Let me use my new power. And then just by doing that, I happened to end up exactly where I needed to go to the next area without even realizing I was doing it.
Wow.
Although I did find a secret path to the next area earlier, apparently. It took me to the same place. Yeah, I'm digging Tunic. I've defeated another big boss that was a little tough, but it wasn't horrible. You just have to get lucky on a run sometimes, basically, and get good too, of course. Things are getting freaky. We've stumbled into some freaky stuff here recently in Tunic. So I'm looking forward to an explanation of what is going on in this area. But I've managed to, as I talked about on the show, I got through sort of the first section of the game, and now I have 2 of the 3 gems I need to get through to this section. I only had to look up where to go one more time. And then I looked at my map and it was like there on the map. I hate that. I hate that.
Sometimes you just can't see something though,
Like, yes. But it made sense with the problem. Okay, here's the problem. This is pretty spoiler light. I thought I had already been to the Frog's Domain. To be honest, partially because I was playing the game and Click Boyfriend was like, this is the Frog's Domain, when we were looking at the maps. And it wasn't the Frog's Domain. So I didn't think I knew where to go next, but I did have a map for someplace where I did know where to go. There was also a time where I didn't think I had a map for an area the whole time, and I did. So I'm just stupid, basically.
I don't know. That first one sounds like it was Clickbait Boyfriend's fault.
I know. I agree. Well, then I couldn't find it again. He wasn't even there. I was just trusting his intuition, and he was wrong. I'm trying to I tried to play a lot of it while he wasn't here because I figured this might be a game that he wants to play more of, and now I'm like, oh, how do I finish this without spoiling him on the game? So I have to send him to sit in another room or something.
Banish him.
Yeah, exactly. The game has gotten a lot easier now that I know how to use my power-ups, my upgrades. In typical Madelyn fashion, I refuse mostly to use the items that I get though, but hoarding them pretty much the whole game. I don't know what any of them do. I just because here's the reason, because they don't regenerate when you die. So I'm like, oh, if I use it and then I don't make it through, I have to save it until I'm sure I'm going to beat the boss. But when I'm at the point where I'm sure I'm going to beat the boss, I'm actually never sure I'm going to beat the boss because I'm almost always almost dead, going in for the kill, taking a risk.
All right.
I'm glad I played this one, even though it sort of wasn't exactly what I thought it would be. And I'm looking forward to finishing it soon, hopefully. Because it's been fun. I've gotten used to the challenge of the combat, and especially as my hit points have leveled up, it's become a little bit less I'm just gonna get murdered when I walk past the alligator things, which is good because that was really frustrating in the beginning. So I'm interested to see where the story leads, because there's definitely some weird stuff going on.
Exciting.
Yeah.
I wait the next update. So should you be our grand finale, or should I save one of my games for afterwards?
It's up to you. I trust your judgment here.
All right, I think I'll give you the grand finale. So
Great.
I'll do my last 3 games here.
I know everyone is waiting.
I played and finished Madelyn Chronicles Rising on Game Pass, which is a prequel side game for Madelyn Chronicles 100 Heroes, which was it's going to be a Suikoden successor. I think we've talked about Suikoden a while ago now, but essentially those ones are as 100 Heroes may imply, you find a lot of characters and get to know them. I don't really know how it works. I don't remember.
That's okay.
Madelyn Chronicles Rising is it's not turn-based like those. It's an action RPG, and there's only 3 main playable characters. I imagine there's some characters you meet in this that may be playable in 100 Heroes just because of their designs and powers. But in this, there you have 3 characters that you play with. I do think the drawback is why would I want to spend time with anyone but CJ, her kangaroo dad, and her blue-haired girlfriend after this, to be honest?
Yeah.
I'm very attached to them now. You're telling me there's going to be other characters besides them? Forget that. I don't want that.
No new friends.
So this one, basically, your protagonist is CJ. She's come to this town, to search through this place called the Barrows, which is this strange, magical, ruiny dungeon where you can find magical artifacts and stuff to sell, because she's a scavenger, and she's been sent away from home to essentially, there's a coming-of-age thing where you go and find, a treasure bigger than your parents brought back on their coming-of-age thing. So she's here looking for a really big rune lens, which is essentially a way that you can refine and use magic, right? You can make it into something like a rune, and then you can use that. So she's here looking for a really big one. So the town that the Barrows opened up near is really destitute, so they've been using the adventurers to try and get their town back on their feet by, when they go in, they get artifacts out, and then the town gets a 30% tax on whatever they sell. It's very harsh. They talk about it a lot. But you as you go on, you end up finding out more about the town and what's going on with the Barrows, and dealing with sort of the town mayor, who is the blue-haired girlfriend. It's her father went missing in the Barrows when they went to investigate it, so you start helping her find her father. because there's mysterious stuff going around. And then there's your kangaroo dad, who's here for the ride. He's a kangaroo with a big
picked
sword.
up on that.
Yeah. It comes out of his pouch. It's a
Oh.
big giant sword.
Nice,
Very
nice. Man, kangaroo swordsman is an untapped idea.
Yeah, so essentially how it works is each of the characters is like mapped on one button, so you press that button and they will attack with their different way of doing it. So CJ's like really fast and mobile. Kangaroo is very slow but hits really hard and can knock things back. And the town mayor is a mage, so she can attack from a distance. And there's some shields that have to be hit by magic to break as well. There's also, like, you do, as you're making your way through the main story, you're, like, doing a lot of, like, side quests and little things for the town, which on their own are pretty tedious, but, like, when you fill up, like, a card of stamps for doing tasks for people, the town will gradually get, like, busier, and the music will change to something more lively, and it's very satisfying when you finish a card, and then they do, like, a little cut through the town, and there's lots more people, and the music has changed, and you're like, heck yeah. I live here now.
Nice.
I like having a town. So I like that aspect of it. I'm very curious to see how 100 Heroes will follow up from it. Because I had a pretty good time with this, so I'll probably check that out and see how I like it. I also started playing Final Fantasy 13 2. Played Final Fantasy 13 last year, so I've gone on to the sequel now. In this year, playing as Sarah, who's Lightning's sister, who you're spending most of 13 trying to save in this. And mysteriously, Lightning has disappeared. The ending of the first game appears to have, like, only Sarah remembers it, and everybody else thinks that Lightning was, like, frozen in the crystal that happens at the end of the game. So everybody else thinks she's dead, but Sarah doesn't believe it. One day, a guy named Noel suddenly appears during, like, a weird time distortion, and he's like, Lightning's alive! She sent me here from Valhalla to come and get you and help you. And then, so Sarah and Noel go on a time-hopping adventure to try and find Valhalla and where Lightning is, as well as their other friends. It's fun. The Snow had went off because Sarah's his fiance, and he was like, yeah, if you think Lightning's alive, I'll go find her. Sure. Love ya. And apparently he's been time hopping too. And you run into, like, Hope is one of the characters from the first game. He was a kid, and you run into him in the future where he's an adult. And you go into the past and you find things. It's a lot more, like, you can pick where you go, essentially, in time, because each area will probably have more than one gate that you can open. So I ran straight into, like, a boss that, like, I banged my head against 3 times, was like, why isn't this working? We literally can't do any damage to him. Looked it up, and it was like, you should be, like, 15 levels higher. I was like, oh I guess I'll go back to the other gates. But it's neat that you can go and ram your head against the boss for a while, if you want. So it feels like it's a direct reaction, people being like, oh, the first game was way too linear, right? Of being like, well,
no more lines.
No more lines. You can go wherever you want. You can time hop to whatever century you so feel. Gamer.
You go, gamer.
It's also interesting, just, like, you'll have a guest party member sometimes. Like, Snow was in the party briefly for one area. But it's mostly just Sarah and Noel. And, like, they also can control, like, a monster. So you'll have a monster in battle with you as, like, your third party member. So that combined with, like, the role switching combat from the first game, which is, I think it moves a little bit faster in this. I felt like switching roles in the first game took, like, a beat too long. Like, I would have to switch ahead of when I would want to switch so that they were in different roles. So, like, someone was healing, like, when they needed healing. I couldn't just switch when I'm like, oh, we need healing. You know, if that makes sense.
It does.
And it's fun just having them, just having these two characters, like, bounce off of each other. I also really, like, it's interesting because Sarah's engaged to Snow, right? So, like, the first game was sort of about well, it's about all the characters, but like Lightning and Snow getting along as like brother and sister-in-law.
Right.
And this one is just about Sarah and Noel being friends. And it's just nice and refreshing to be like, yeah, here's a girl and boy, they're friends. You know? Like, there's been no inclination that there's going to be anything, like, romantic going on, which is really nice, and I like it. Alright, my last game, and then we'll hit the grand finale.
Series retrospective.
I am playing Fuga, Melodies of Steel 2. Another one where I played the first game last year. This is the one where there's a bunch of cat and dog kids on a tank.
I remember this.
Yeah.
At first I was going to be like, does this have anything to do with Trails of Cold Steel? But it
does not.
It just happens to be steel.
Yeah. So, you know, in the last game, they won the war. Their tank did not soul cannon any of the children to death. They saved their friend. You know, everything's hunky-dory. And so in this one, the children, a little bit older, are called to, like, the capital city where the military has been, like, doing a survey of their tank, right? Of, like, what is this? Where did it come from? What's going on? But the doors won't open for them. So they've called the children here to be like, what's up with the doors?
Yeah.
Mysteriously, as soon as one of the kids goes up to it, the doors open just fine, right? So they're like, neat, we can do our survey now. So some of the kids go on the tank to check things out, while some of them stay on the outside to answer questions. And then suddenly, the doors close again. And the Tyrannus, the tank, suddenly starts firing. So the children who are on the outside are shown by a new character named Vanilla to the Tarascus, which was a big enemy tank at the end of the first game, which had been destroyed, but apparently had, like, pulled itself together. Like, it regenerated itself through magic, according to Vanilla. So they get into the Tarascus in order to trace down the Tyrannus. Unfortunately, the children on the inside appear to be not under their own control.
Oops.
And so you end up having to fight the Tyrannus a few times to try and get your friends out of there. And it goes on from there. So there's this one's a lot more, like, story and lore heavy than the first one, I would say. First one had, like, some indications that there was some more lore going on, like the existence of the tanks themselves, and the AI within it. Like, the fact that they had stuff going on was relevant, but not necessarily the stuff that was going on yet. And that feels like it's a lot more relevant in this sequel. There's also things like there was a gesture in the first game. In both of these, they make you lose the first time, essentially, and then take you back in time. And in the first game, there was an indication that, like, Malt, who's, like, he's the oldest child, can remember this. And this one, they're like, yeah, Malt can remember going back in time. There's, like, a guy in the time dimension that will talk to Malt and send him back.
I love when there's a guy in the time dimension.
Yeah. But it's fun to go back to. It's very comfortable. It's really interesting of, like, it's not too different in gameplay from the first game. And so one of your first, like, conversations, they make you have, like, link conversations with the children. You have them bond with each other, and they have short little conversations. So the first one they make you have is them literally talking about, like, isn't it kind of screwed up that, like, we're good at this tank thing now? Yes, Malt, it is, especially for you.
Yeah.
But there are a few upgrades. They've added a lot of quality of life features, which they actually did update the first game to add as well. Like, in shops, you can check what your tank needs in order to upgrade things, which, when I saw you could do that, I let out a audible cheer. I don't have to keep a weird little note in my phone anymore with, like, the exact number of things that I need to upgrade each station in my tank. I can just look on the menu. Imagine. It's lovely. And stuff like, you get, like, your harvest automatically before you had to, like, go check your garden to get it, and it was really easy to forget to do that between intermissions. So you get your food automatically at the start of an intermission now, which is very nice. A couple new gameplay things as well. So the Tarascus has a different cannon called the Manibus, I think, which just, if you use it, it's not as powerful as the Soul Cannon, but it just knocks out the child. So it doesn't kill the child, it just, like, it makes them unconscious for a bit, that you can heal them on the next intermission. And additionally, eventually you do get the Soul Cannon attached to your tank as well through story reasons. But now the AI on the ship, who is Hax, who is the enemy that you fought at the end of the first game, who is like, has all his memories and stuff, but none of his personality. But anyway, when he determines that the tank is in danger, he will just put a child in the Soul Cannon. And there'll be a countdown to when he will use it. So in the first game, like, it would unlock at a certain point, and you could use it and pick which child you wanted. In this one, he's just like, random child, they're in the Soul Cannon, I will use it if you don't fix this right now. Which adds, like, an element, it adds a new element of tension to, like, boss battles, when you don't have control over it. I read some funny things of, like, if you're trying to do, like, the really bad end where all the children die, but you still reach the end of the game, it's actually really hard now because, like, the children that die at each point are random. So you can't even be like, this is the best child to have at the end. You just get stuck with whoever you're stuck with.
Yeah.
Which is interesting that's probably the hardest ending to get. There's also, like, Malt has a morals bar, I guess. It's not like you slide up and down, you just get points in either of them of either empathy or resolution. Neither of them are bad, they're just in different ways that Malt responds to things. Anyway, I'm very interested to see where the story is going. One last funny thing that I enjoy. So something very traumatic happens in, like, the third chapter. And so Malt has this, like, staring into the void sprite that he's using all the time right now. And however, during intermissions, like, the children have wishes, so you do certain things during the intermissions to, like, boost them, and they'll help them out in upcoming combat sequences. And whenever you fulfill a wish, it'll come up with, like, a pop-up of, like, child is very happy, or child feels really good right now. And so whenever you do Malt, it'll pop up with his staring into the void sprite. Like, Malt's feeling really good right now. You planting something in the garden? Like, yeah, I can tell he's feeling really good.
He looks great.
He looks like he's feeling great. Anyway, I'm only, like, chapter 4 or 5. I think there were 12 in the first game. There's probably 12 in this. And so I am excited to see what will happen to my little fuzzy children. I'm sure it will be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure only good things.
They're all feeling good.
Okay, as long as they aren't getting eaten.
True.
All right, here we go.
I'm ready.
The series retrospective no one saw coming. It's Trine.
It's Trine!
In the past 6 weeks, I think for the last side quest, I can't remember if we had finished Trine 1 for the last side quest or if we were very close.
I don't remember either.
So I'm going to talk about all of them. Forgive me if I already talked about Trine 1. But yes, over the past 6 weeks, Click Boyfriend and I played, whatever little bit of Trine 1 was left. Trine 2, plus its included DLC, Trine 3, and Trine 4, which we finished just in time for this episode, because I didn't want to have, like, the very tail end of Trine 4 to talk about 6 weeks later. Wow. Man, local co-op is so good.
True.
That is the real, we were trying to put our finger on, like, is there any real reason that we played through all of Trine beyond that? And, like, there's a lot of things to enjoy about these games, but definitely, like, it was just a real treat to have some local co-op kind of stupid action to play through. So I know, like, I just gotta give everyone, like, the full, like, ranking of the Trine games, the full Trine lore, the full overview here. So first and foremost, I want to say I think Trine 2 is the best of the Trine games. I don't think that it is objectively the best crafted. And so if you want your game to feel a little bit more polished, it would not necessarily be the one I would rank at number 1. But for me, Trine 2 is my favorite because it really took all of the like kind of jankiness of Trine 1 and added some new abilities and kind of like scaled it up a little bit. And it just really felt like my boyfriend were always and I were saying to each other, like, let's just cheese through this one. Let's cheese our way through this one. Like, let me hold up a box for you to jump on, even though you're not really supposed to be able to do that. So Trine 2 really felt the best for just sort of being able to be like, yeah, I'm going to stack 5 boxes on top of each other to solve this puzzle instead of doing it the intended way. So I liked that. I liked Trine 2 quite a lot. Trine 4 is the one that I would say definitely, if you're looking for like craft in game design, it's definitely Trine 4. All of the Trines like look really lovely, like lovely backgrounds, lovely imagery. But Trine 4, unlike Trine 1 and 2, where you can kind of like unlock additional powers for yourself just as you get enough points to unlock it, basically. Trine 4 does gatekeep when you can unlock like Amadeus being able to summon a second block or like the ice arrows or something like that. So you could see that allowed them to do a better job of kind of creating puzzles where they knew what you had as resources for yourself.
Right.
That said, I wasted some points on getting a bouncy ball power, which I only caused chaos. There did not appear to be any kind of useful use for the bouncy ball.
Joy.
So, just, be aware. But yeah, this really contributed almost to like, it was almost a negative for me in Trine 4 though, that like some of the things that I had previously thought of as janky, unintended solutions, like became things that sometimes it seemed like you were supposed to do. Like the whole like hovering a block and having somebody else jump on it, even though you kind of lose the ability to hold it up when that happened, sometimes seemed to be the intended solution. They added some cool new powers. They added like the ability to like, maybe this was in Trine 3, I can't remember, but like you can walk on Zoya's rope, the thief's rope, which is cool. And like you can freeze things so they stay in place. Like it added some cool new power. So like I appreciated it. I was like, this is like objectively a better game. But by this point, I want it to be janky. In terms of story, let me give the overview stories.
Okay.
So Trine 1, definitely the best for ludonarrative cohesion. I talked about this in the Trine episode, I think in the side quest last time. It kind of all falls apart if you're playing multiplayer. But, originally the whole point of the Trine was that the 3 of them are all stuck like sharing a body basically, and only one of them can exist at the same time. And that's, what the gameplay is too, if you're playing single player. And well, I couldn't really tell you any of the actual details of what happens in that story, other than they all get trapped in the Trine and they eventually get themselves out. At least like that makes sense. Like I get it. I was like, that is the gameplay. So I get it. Trine 2, bad story. Great game, terrible story. There's like 2 princesses. You're like following their escapades through various letters as you go along doing your Trine stuff. And it turns out one of them has like imprisoned the other for centuries, basically. And you have to free her. Really dumb story. Really, really dumb. Not clear why we were involved in this at all. The DLC was a little better. Goblins throw the wizard's wife in a bag and kidnap her. And we have to get her back. But it turns out that they are like afraid of her because she looks like a goblin god, basically. The triplets seem to do fine on their own, for what it's worth. In case you missed it, Amadeus the wizard has triplets at the end of Trine 1, who he talks about occasionally in banter. Trine 3 is sad. Trine 3 is the 3D Trine. And, well, I agree, it's not finished. It is truly, we talked about this on the show, it truly is, you get to what feels like the 1/3 mark of the story, which is like, the heroes want to be done with the Trine. Like, they're sick of being heroes of the Trine, so they're gonna, like, go back and give the Trine's powers back, but they, like, accidentally break it, and in doing so, they unleash an evil power. and they have to like gather these artifacts so that they can get rid of this evil spirit. And they get one of the artifacts, and then the game ends. So it's sad. It's really sad. The 3D worked better than I expected it to be honest. I think it's good that they pivoted back to the 2.5D for Trine 4 because obviously it destroyed them. But other than the depth perception being really, really bad, the 3D actually was kind of fun. So I give it for that. And yeah, in Trine 4 in many ways has the most like coherent story, although it's still pretty bad in that we've been tasked with like finding this prince who got out of the Astral Academy, but he turns out like he's like got something inside of him that's like Lord of Nightmares, basically. It's like a Ventus and Vanitas kind of
very cool
situation.
Yeah.
Where in the end he says some meaningful things about light and darkness and then accepts the darkness in himself. So very like dark side kind of energy.
Right.
You also help like a mermaid and like a badger hedgehog throughout as you're chasing the prince. So that was a little weird. But I at least I kind of knew what our goal was. So the story's bad. The lore of Trine, bad. I can't wait for Trine 5.
Yeah.
This summer. I can't wait. I watched the trailer before this. Unhinged. Looks like some unhinged stuff. Saw some new abilities in the trailer. Bouncy arrows. Oh baby, bouncy arrows. Throughout the series, I continued to be a wizard main, and Cookie's boyfriend was mostly a thief main. So, best final boss, Trine 1. Everybody hates the final boss for Trine 1. I don't care. That was like a hard boss rush for me. I think I did talk about it on the show. I think we did do that. So I remember talking about that. It was a good hard boss rush, but while still feeling like it used the skills that you develop over the course of the game. Like I was joking, Emma was like still on to record the podcast at noon, live at noon at 12 p.m. on Sunday. I was like, of course. But I was like, well, let's see how hard the final boss of Trine 4 is. And then, we'll see if I'm on time. And the final boss was hard. The final boss was nonsense hard for no reason. And not hard in like a clever way. Trine 4 had some nice challenges throughout it where it's like, oh, you're both the wizard and you have to solve this as the wizard. You're both the thief, you have to solve it. Like they were like battling their own nightmares, basically.
I see.
Again, very, very Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Just saying. Like very Sora, Donald, and Goofy. Actually, kind of honestly. Anyway. Like literally. Wow. Okay, I have to stop thinking about that. But the final boss was just like combat, like horrible combat that was really hard and like unfair. The combat in these games sucks. It's really bad. It does not get better. It's just stupid. Anyway, I highly recommend. I got all 4 Trine games for like $20 or something on the PlayStation. Don't get them on the Switch. Getting like Trine 1 costs more than that on the Switch. Get them someplace where you can get the complete collection because you're going to want it. I played it like it was one long game and it was really good. It was really good. Don't skip Trine 3. Guess what? Trine 4 totally ignores Trine 3. So you might think to yourself, like my boyfriend and I were thinking we were going to skip it, but I'm glad we didn't. I'm really glad we didn't. It gave a whole new level of absurdity. I think apparently we solved the problem with the evil demon, but you'd never know. Like we're just back to chasing princes. But I'm glad they're making a Trine 5. Trine is great. I really want to watch a Trine speed run now. I feel like those would be hilarious. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that I'm going to be able to like devote my attention to some other games. It's probably time for my boyfriend and I to play River City Girls 2. This was sort of what drove the local co-op revolution here. As we played River City Girls, and then we were like, oh, Trine's also a local co-op. That's great. And then we played a million of them. Right. But yeah. Good stuff. Maybe we'll make you, if Trine 5 comes out late enough that Clickly Boyfriend and I have to play it remotely anyway, I'll make you the third player.
Oh.
I know what you're thinking. Madeline, I'm not going to be able to follow what's going on. I can't jump in at Trine 5.
The lore, Madeline, the lore.
There's a lot of lore. Amadeus still can't do a fireball.
It's important.
But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Trine. Adding 4 games to my completed this year list.
Very good.
Which I thought was going to be impressive, and then you came in and were like, I finished 7 games.
Oops.
Yeah.
Well, it's still May.
It's still May. Lots of time remaining to finish lots of games. Well, I think that brings us to the end of this episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
Folks, have you played Trine? What's your personal ranking of Trine games? Mine is probably 2, 4, 1, 3. But, 3 is closer than you would think. Have you, how do you feel about the chapter that Emma played in Cold Steel? What would you do if someone was playing milk in a bag, out of a bag, in a bag, in a bag, in a bag, on, like, that popped up on your Switch? If you have thoughts on any of this, and which letter I should use to theme the games that I play in the next 6 weeks, hit us up on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Talk This Podcast. You can also visit our website at www.talkthispodcast.com, where you can read all about the show, check out the games in the hat for our main editions, and read our blog featuring long-running series Clickbait Boyfriend and Split Screen. But first and foremost, if you enjoyed the show, you should subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Pandora Podcasts, online and on the app, Overcast, Pocket Casts, wherever you can find podcasts, the podcast service of your choice, wherever you found the podcast today. Subscribe to Talk This. Emma, what are we talking about next week? Do you remember?
For our old game, Sam and Max.
Right?
And
Sam
for our
and
new
Max.
game,
He's
for
fishy.
our new game, Forspoken.
So look forward to that. Look forward to I shouldn't have said Sam and Max. That was so stupid of me to say out loud. I should have saved that for the joke. Idiot. Okay.
Well, do you want to sign us off with something funny?
Listeners, I hope that this week all of your evil spirits are also destroyed and resolved off screen.